Hello, neighbors.
Welcome back to
the
Future Neighbor Podcast.
Oh man, it's been such a while.
I actually wanted to really do this podcast now before our memory is fresh.
As many of you know, we share a lot of our life updates on our Instagram and as well as a lot of the baby photos. So
our baby is born.
Our baby is Sora. Sora is Sol and then Ah, if you know Korean. Sol Ah. O Sol Ah. Yeah, that's her full name. And then her English name is what, Katie?
Lauren.
That's right.
We debated a lot on whether we need an English name or not, but we ended up having an English name for her.
Yeah, maybe we could talk about the rationale later.
Yeah.
Let's. Do we even have an intro? No.
We didn't have an intro.
Future Neighbor Podcast.
We were so excited to do this podcast. We were
we just put the baby to sleep, and then right when we turned on all of our podcasting gear, we just hear a. So I think we have about an hour before we have to go tend.
This time is so precious.
Tend to our little sweetie here. So, welcome back, everybody, and thanks for tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
This episode is brought to you by none other than Gochujar.com.
It's still alive.
Oh yeah, it's alive and kicking, and there's a lot of new stuff. Among the many new products, one thing that I really enjoy there has been the artisan made nurungji. Nurungji, in the old days, rice used to be made on gamasot. These are these large iron cauldrons, and when families used to live in the countryside, you would make rice in these cauldrons, and then the bottom layer, it gets crispy. And it's not only Koreans who enjoy this. I remember when I was had projects in Iran, they also like this nurungji. They have this crispy layer, but they use saffron to cook their rice, so it's a bit orangey. And they said back in their past too, family members would try to fight over the pieces.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and so in Korean, ours not as flavorful. It's more like scorched rice. And in Korea now, there's this manufacturer who actually uses these cauldrons just to replicate that old school flavor. And we sell them on Gochujar, and it's not processed with all this other food additives and MSG and preservatives, but artisan made. And you can find that on Gochujar.com. All you got to do is add a little bit of water and then bring it to boil. And then if you have an upset stomach, a lot of people go for chuk, which is rice porridge. You can also add a little bit of those nurungji bits, and you get a nice warm meal for your stomach.
I've been making nurungji a lot lately. So kind of to help with my breast milk.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of nurungji though. I just never grew up. My mom loves it. Most of my family loves it, but for me,
I like it. It's kind of after meal food. So after you have your food, you want to finish it off with something
hot.
Yeah. And nurungji is good.
All right, so let's get right into it. So Katie, you should really lead this conversation and this soul, because motherhood, fatherhood is one part of it, but I think motherhood is really, is that our baby?
I think so.
Can you go check? 1 second, guys.
Honestly, I still feel still sometimes unreal that I have a baby and this little baby came out of me,
I'm the same way.
One moment I'm wow, this is my reality. Second moment I'm oh my gosh, is this really true? And that was really, really strong the first few weeks. And then so I had just a wealth of emotions coming through.
I'm the same way. I think for me, when I was growing up, I would sometimes listen to interviews by famous people or people who have succeeded, and they'd be what were some of your happiest moments or your proudest moments? And I always thought most people answered the birth of my child. And I always thought that was kind of
cliche?
Well, not only cliche, but I was
didn't really speak to you?
Yeah, it doesn't really resonate. Is that what just people just say? And is it that great? And oh my God, it is. I think I would answer the same way, because you go through pregnancy with your wife and you do something very hard together. And when you see the result, your baby, coming out of the woman that you love and it's in your arms. It's just like such a beautiful, arduous, and precious moment that like,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's like I'm sure
That's
there's chemical
so
releases in your
life-changing.
brains too. But like, even if I was Elon Musk, I think Elon also says it too. But he says, you know, like seeing his child being born was like the most happiest thing ever. And like, you know, I mean, he's a man who's been like making space rockets and up and beyond like successes that anyone would see in any lifetime. I think he's probably had more business success than like 10 generations of a normal person, right?
Yeah.
And,
Just amazing achievement.
yeah, and he still says that like the birth of his child was like one of the most joyous moments of his life, if not the most. And I think I would say the same. Like it's everything. It's everything. I think it's like the most beautiful moment I've ever had in my life. So
Yeah.
I don't know how that resonates with people who haven't gone through it, but
Yeah.
it's special. So
I think so.
yeah, it's very special.
And plus, I didn't even like babies before, so I didn't really know how I feel. But then, like, it's just it's just the moment you like give birth and you see the baby, like I changed 180. Like now I love babies. Of course, I love my baby, but like if I see other babies, I'm also like smiling. Gives me like a joy, and it's so cute.
Yeah, I also thought that what's changed too is like when I would be out in public, sometimes I'd see a baby and I was like, oh, that baby's pretty ugly. Like that thought would come to me like, oh, that baby's pretty ugly. Or like, ooh.
I mean, a lot of single people who like would feel like have that feeling too.
But now when I see like babies, even if like previously I would like their appearance would like be conscious to me, but now all I see
Doesn't matter.
I know. For me now, I've changed.
Yeah.
Like going through, I was like, wow, that baby is so cute. So now all babies have turned cute
Yeah.
because I think I understand like how arduous it is to even produce like a
Yeah.
baby, and so
Yeah.
like they all become precious now. Yeah, it's no longer like, oh, that baby's really cute. Oh, that baby's kind of strange. Oh, wow. When two like ethnicities come together, that's what that looks like. Oh, interesting. Superficial thoughts don't come. It's just like, wow, that baby is precious. I wonder how old she is or he is. Like that's what comes to me. Like, oh, he's holding his neck.
We've become parents. You can tell now.
Yeah, a lot more empathy. Yeah, we have so many places we can go.
With our baby?
No, with this discussion. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
where do you
like,
want to talk about first, Katie? Like a deep dive.
maybe we can talk about like my experience of actually giving birth.
Yeah, you can. We're sparing some details, of course, but
Yeah, because initially I was intending for a natural birth, and we were waiting, and then we reached week 40, but still we got no signs of baby coming out.
yeah.
So we had to book in for like a induced labor. So it was exactly 40 weeks and 4 days. Went into the hospital for induced labor. So yeah, that was something that I wasn't really expecting. I thought like the baby would just come naturally at around 40 weeks.
Yeah.
I had to go in like really early in the morning, like 7 a.m. But then I had a lot of anxiety towards that because when I read online, there's a lot of failure stories. Kind of stories where like the induced labor didn't really work, and then people end up getting like C-section. So I was like really fearing that and kind of like scared, and yeah, I had to like get myself ready for like C-section too in my mind.
I'm going to interject here just because there might be some guys listening who have no idea what induced labor or young people, but basically like inducement is like normally during a pregnancy, it goes until 40 weeks. And then during those like final few weeks, some of course get it earlier, you start getting natural contractions. And then you go to the hospital if your water breaks, because that means the baby's ready to go. But it, like when I watch movies, I thought when the water broke, the baby's coming out, but it's not. You still have some time. Now you need to go to the hospital because the process has started, but it doesn't mean the baby's coming out like within like a minute or 5 minutes like they make in the movies. But inducement is when you go past over week 40, but you still don't have natural contractions. you'll go to the hospital and then they'll give you like a drip. I forget what chemical it is, but it replicates the chemicals that are in your brain that helps to onset
The contractions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like what is week 40? That's just an arbitrary number, right? Like if you think of our like humans before there was hospitals and stuff, I mean, babies could come at week 42, week 41, or week 40. So why do you get induced right at 40? Is because most of the times the doctors will look at stats, and if it passes week 40, like a lot of people, the baby gets too big, so it has like you'll have much more trouble passing it through your body, and
Naturally.
so exactly, and so a lot of doctors, even in Korea, she was like right at week, like she was like, do you want to go into getting induced at week 39? We're like, no, we'll wait.
Yeah, I wanted to wait as much as I could because, yeah, I wanted to get the natural contraction. I wanted to experience that.
And one thing that's different was, because we have a friend who just gave birth in the States too. And of course, we like share information of like how it's different in the US and in Korea. But in Korea, you can choose whether you want a C-section, which apparently is not the case in the US. Only if it's like medically diagnosed and you like there's a complication, you can go into C-section. But in Korea, a lot of people or you can choose which one you want to do.
Yeah, so actually the stats show that now there's increasingly more women opting for C-section rather than the natural vaginal birth.
I was looking at the doctor's board and they write like natural or they write C-section. And it seemed to me almost like 60-40 to 70-30,
Yeah.
like 70% being C-section.
I was surprised too. It's not all due to medical reasons. It's just out of choice. A lot of them is just out of like preference, basically.
Yeah. A lot of younger Koreans now, I think.
You know, there's a lot of like uncertainties or like unexpected things that could happen with vaginal birth. Like you have to wait, and you know, when maybe like the contractions last for a really long time, you get tired out, and then you end up doing like C-section, like which people call is like the worst case scenario because you feel all the pain of the vaginal birth, but then you don't end up getting it. So like people have a lot of like fear about that. So they just rather go for like a quick
That's what happened to my sister. My sister in the States got like she went into induced induced what was
induced labor.
Yeah, she went to induced labor, but then at the last moment they're like, we're gonna have to like
it was lasting for
that baby's heartbeat is going up too much, and
we've
been like having contractions for too long, so let's go do C-section. She was like, no, why did I go through all this like contraction period for? But let's talk about our experience. So
so I went into the hospital. I started getting those drips, and then like the nurses started to check like my dilation. And initially I was like, I think when I went in around 2 to 3 centimeter dilated, but then ultimately you need to be like 10 centimeter dilated to like get the baby out. But then for me, my progress initially was very slow, almost to the point that I was like, oh, this drip is not working on me. Like I didn't feel any contraction for the first like 4 or 5 hours of getting the drip. And I was like singing. I'm like, the doctor would come in and I'm like, oh my God, am I actually supposed to feel the contraction? Like, can you actually feel it when it comes? Like, I wasn't sure what the actual contraction meant. Yeah. And then.
So for fellas, like basically when you go in for induction, the process is first you have to, in order for the woman to deliver a baby, the cervix has to dilate to 10 centimeters. You take the drip, and then right when it reaches around 5 or 6, they then push you into the emergency room because then the baby's gonna come and you know you're gonna feel real pain.
Getting ready,
But for us, when Katie went in, even like getting dilated to up to like I think like 5 centimeters, you like you were saying, we didn't feel anything. You didn't feel it.
Yeah, I was getting dilated, but then I wasn't getting any pain.
Yeah, you were feeling pain. We were joking around. And
so the doctor even came and she was like, oh, that's really strange that you're not feeling any pain. So she was like, usually when it's like around 4 or 5 centimeter dilated, we would start giving epidurals. But then she's like, since you don't feel any pain, let's see further.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay. And as soon as she went away, all of a sudden I started to feel this pain, and I'm like, oh, this is what they mean, like contraction. I was like, okay, there's no question about it. I am getting the contraction.
Yeah. Because before we were like, is this a contraction? Is this a contraction? And then the doctor's like, if you're asking me if that's a contraction, it's not. Okay? Just wait a little bit longer. Remember that funny episode where like you were like, my stomach hurts. I was like, let's log it in the app.
Yeah, like we were using an app to like see if it's like a fake contraction or not. And we were kind of like doing it just to see. I wasn't really taking it seriously, but we were doing it. And then when the real contraction came, like you know that it is like the contraction. I couldn't even move or speak. And all of a sudden, Danny was like, where is that phone? Where's your phone? Let me log in your contraction. I mean, what's the point of logging the contraction now when I know that it's the real pain? It's like, this is the real did. But then he keeps looking for my phone, and it's like, I don't even have energy to reply to him. And then like somehow he found the phone. And then now he goes, where's the app? I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to kill this guy right now.
Okay, first of all, we were waiting in there for 4 to 5 hours, and you gave me a homework to log every time you thought you had like one of these fake ones. And so like my mind was in that mode, and then you were like, oh, and I could see it. You were in real pain. So I was like, I better log this. But then you were like,
what's the point of logging it?
And I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute. We're already at the hospital. I don't know why we're logging this.
Yeah.
But she looked at me and she's like, don't ask me about the app. And I was like, oh yeah, I should have.
Yeah, I was like, and after that he became quiet. So I'm like, oh my God, thank God.
Yeah. And then from there.
From there onwards, like, everything progressed really quickly, like because now I was already 5 centimeter dilated. I was getting the pain, so then they asked me to move to a real room where where you can actually give birth. But that part I feel like really kind of iffy about it, because like the fact that they asked me to move to a different room when I'm having the contraction.
It was right after you had one. They were like, quickly move, let's move now.
But like you cannot move. Like I'm sure the people who's experienced it, I couldn't move. I couldn't even think of coming out of my bed when I had the contraction. But they're like, wait until the contraction goes away. During that short span of time, you're gonna move. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really hardcore.
No, but I think it's because your dilation went from nothing, and then it started like you were dilating so quickly that you were kind of like exception. Like, we need to move you now, right? Whereas like if you went like every 15 minutes, you dilated 1 centimeter like that, then they would have progressed you naturally. Yeah. But we were like all joking around, like cracking up, and like, are we really gonna give birth today? And like saying all this stuff, and then you're like, ugh. And then they're like, you got to go now. You're at like 5 now. Let's go now.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think that part where I had to move, like walk towards a different room when I was having the contraction, it was like one of the most like painful parts.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Like coming out of the bed and walking and then getting into that other bed.
Where you wait for your contractions and stuff is like a separate room, and then there's like the delivery room.
Yeah, but I think in like maybe Europe or other countries, they all do it in the same room.
I see.
Like they don't ask you to move.
I see.
I think it's just like not enough beds or space in Korea. Yeah. So yeah. But anyway, once I moved to the actual delivery room, things progressed really quickly. I had my epidural, but then my epidural, I felt like it didn't really work on me, because even after they put in the epidural, I still felt the pain. So I didn't really experience like no pain. I think maybe like 30% of the pain was gone, but I was still feeling like 70%. And then soon I was like fully dilated, so they asked me to push, but then they were like, okay, now we are going to turn off the epidural because we need you to feel the contraction completely so you can know when to push.
Yeah.
So then, like, from then on, like, no epidural and just practicing pushing with the nurses. I actually thought that the doctor would come, like, be there for longer, but the doctor actually comes in the really last minute, like when the actual pushing happens.
Can I just say, like, wow, the team, like the delivery nurse team, that specialized team that like took care of you during
like the Avengers.
I call them the Avengers. They're
amazing.
Yeah, one of the nurse was like, she's fully dilated, assemble. And then like all of us are from all these different rooms, like these women, like specialized nurses started coming. You had like 6 people in, and like, oh my God, my heart rate started going up. She's like, all right, the husband stay out for a second. And then, oh my God, I'm already getting like, my mouth is like losing saliva right now. I'm getting anxiety thinking about that. But you want me to take over and explain from my perspective?
Yeah, because all I was doing was basically lying down. I had my eyes closed the whole time and just like.
So after the Avengers assembled, the head Avenger was like telling me, okay, step outside the room right now. And I was like, okay. And then she's like, okay, you know, you have to like get sanitized, whatever, put on the mask and the face mask and whatever. And then our nurse, our head doctor, who we've gone through this process with, she showed up and she came down. She's like, I was getting so emotional, but like I wasn't to the point where I was like about to tear up. I'm sorry, about to cry, but my eyes were like tearing up. And she looks at me and she's like, hi. And I'm like, hi. And she's like,
she's so soft and calm.
So calm, like so calm. And she's like, I forget exactly what she said, but something like,
she said, you're nervous or something?
She's like, oh, you excited to see your daughter soon? And I was like, yes. And then she went in, and then when I went back into the room, now all of like the doctors, like that blue cloth, it was all draped over you now. And I was like, oh shoot, the show's about to start, right?
The show.
And the head nurse though was like, before, okay, so our doctor went in, but then the head Avenger nurse, she comes out, she looks at me and she looks really stern. She's like, okay, listen to me. When you go into the room, do not look at your wife. Basically, don't look at the
bottom.
Yeah. Like she said, turn around, face the wall, and don't turn around. And I was like, okay. Because my friend also, like, he was like, hey, are you gonna watch the baby coming out? And
I don't think they would allow it at all.
No, I mean, it's up to you. But basically, like from the States, he was like, yeah, one of my friends like, yeah, man, it's like the miracle birth, man. It's like crazy, man. Like you can look at it, it's like crazy, right? And so I remember he kept saying that. So I was like, maybe I'll do it. But I don't know. I didn't really have one strong opinion about it. Or like, I don't care not to watch. But since he kept saying like, it's amazing, man. I was like, okay, maybe I had this plan. Maybe I'll like peek and watch. But then when that nurse was like, don't turn around. And then I came into the room and she's like, okay, look at the wall, look at the wall, look at the wall, look at the wall, look at the wall. And I was like a drill sergeant. And so I like, you know, I basically like duck walked like with my face like 1 centimeter from the wall, like to where you're positioned.
Like next to me.
Next to you and where I can't see. Now thinking back on it, I think it was good because there's no need to see it. It's pretty gory. So I was like happy that they instructed me. But then once that happened, like everything happened so quickly. They were like, okay.
Almost like instant in my memory.
Yeah, and I was trying to tell the nurse, like, hey, like, I don't think my wife knows exactly, like, how to breathe in and hold. Can you, like, practice with her? And you did a few practice rounds.
Yeah, because, like, pushing was really difficult. And they were saying, like, I don't have enough strength. And it seems like I wasn't really getting it.
Yeah. And so after you did a few practice rounds, now, like, the baby was locked into position to go. And then, oh my gosh, that drill sergeant, the head Avenger, all of a sudden, like she's like, okay, 갑니다, like which means we're going, and like she like kind of like okay, I don't want to exaggerate here. I will tell you, like in my mind, she like jumped onto your belly like a cheetah, but in reality, it was more like she kind of propped herself up so that she can put her weight onto your stomach and kind of pushed your stomach down to like help facilitate the baby out. Now in the States, I guess that's never done, but in Korea that's like the de facto.
Yeah.
And then like like, okay, she did that. And I was like, wow. And then all the other nurses were looking. The doctor, the chill doctor was like, 잘합니다. You're doing well. Don't worry.
There's just like one last time, one last push. It's almost there.
Yeah. And then I just see the head Avenger like scrunching your stomach. And then like when she took it off in between the contractions, your stomach looked like a bear had gone through it. Like there was like a bear mark, like a bear hand mark. It was like bloody, not bloody, but like
all bruised
marks, right? And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. But Korea, that thing is amazing. Like I give them the highest praise because that baby was out in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like literally 5 minutes. And I like being with Katie. Like Katie's like very soft spoken and very like soft around the edges. So like you'll never know, but Katie is like has true strength. Like during this whole pregnancy, like giving birth, she never yelled once. She never even like your voice never even went up. You just like
I just like
you just scrunched and just
I was just holding it internally.
That was the extent. And during the whole, even when the baby was coming out, just that's it. And I was like, oh my God, your tolerance for pain is like completely different from what you give off, like appearance wise.
Yeah.
Like you don't look like a tough person, but I saw your true strength there. And I was like,
I think you're really grateful that I didn't pull out your hair, basically. That's what you're saying.
It's different from the movies. Like
no,
reality
but
is
honestly,
much better.
like in that respect, I'm really happy that I went through the process and have my own like experience to share, because before that I had so much fear about giving birth, the actual process, and I was looking up online and I was like even like in the movies they like go crazy, women like yell and like they like pull out like the men's hair and everything, and I was like so scared. Oh my God, that's gonna happen to me. Like I'm gonna turn into a monster, and I'm so scared to see myself doing that. But like I don't know, I guess it's different for every woman, and for me, like that's what happened. Like I just going through the pain more like internally, holding it to myself.
No, I think you pushed really well. But also the nurses, they knew exactly where to like facilitate like the weight to push that baby out and lock her into position and go, because they deliver so many babies and every day, right? I mean, the hospital we go to has the second highest delivery rate in all of Korea.
Yeah.
So that Avengers team is like just pushing out babies all day, every day.
So
right?
much appreciation.
Wow, just the nurses.
The nurses there
amazing,
actually after going through the experience.
Amazing.
I was like.
So when the baby comes out, like they give the opportunity for the dad to cut the umbilical cord, of course. And
from then on, everything, I'm just a little bit sad that things was just progressed too quickly. Like gave birth, I saw the baby for 1 second, and then the baby was gone.
Yeah.
They took away our baby.
Oh, it was so 정신없어. It was so chaotic for me too, because they were like, okay, the baby's out. And then one of the other nurses was like, Dad, what are you doing? Are you not going to take a picture of this beautiful moment? And I was like, oh, right. And then as soon as I'm reaching for the phone, they're like, okay, Dad, now you're going to cut the umbilical cord. I was like, wait, oh. So I cut the umbilical cord.
It was so fast paced.
And then they're like, okay, now we're
now
gonna
put the baby on the mom's chest and then take another photo.
Yeah.
And then now we're gonna take the baby away for not ventilation, but like
checkups.
Yeah, and like to warm her up.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, and then even before that, she's like, okay, Dad, I want you to make sure that we're gonna. Okay, look, she has 2 ears. Okay, there's nothing abnormal. There's nothing this. Okay, now and then.
And when all this is going on, the doctor is like doing the after stitches.
Oh yeah, she's already stitching you up, and then they're like, she's like, oh, it was great. Oh, it was great. You did a great job.
Yeah. And then everybody's gone.
Yeah, everyone's gone. And I was like, where's
quick.
And I was like, where's our baby? She's in the 신생아실, or the newborn care.
Yeah.
But thank you, our doctor. Thank you to that nursing team. Thank you, Katie. We had a healthy daughter. She came in at 3.43 kilos. And
50 centimeters.
And the funny thing was, like, when our baby was born, she didn't cry.
Yeah.
She was struggling to cry. And so I still remember Katie was like, how come our baby's not crying?
That's the first thing I said.
Yeah.
Because I got so scared. Because
Yeah.
I wasn't, because like before that, you know, when we were in the waiting room,
Yeah.
waiting for the contraction, I would like hear screams of other women giving birth. And then immediately after, like, I would see
Hear
the
the
baby
babies.
cry, like, yeah, super loud and shrieky. And I'm like, okay. And I was kind of expecting that. But
Wait,
then I was,
So our baby, like I saw the baby, like of course, and then she was like trying to cry, but I think she had so much like the placenta fluid in her lungs, so they used like one of the
air
pipe-
pump
pipe-
kind of thing.
pipettes, and then they pulled out the fluid from her lungs, and then she started to like.
But still, it was so weak.
It was like.
Yeah.
And then
So
Katie
weak.
was like, "Come on, like louder."
Yeah.
But anyway, and so from there, I thought like, wow, our baby, she's not gonna cry a lot. But little did I know, she definitely
Yeah.
cries a lot.
Yeah.
So surreal.
It's
I think
like
you were at a loss for
so
words.
unforgettable.
I think you were for loss of words. You saw the baby and like,
Yeah. Oh,
You-
yeah.
you
I
couldn't
saw
say
the
anything.
I saw the baby for the first time. I couldn't actually see the baby too because I just feel like, oh my gosh, this is
you were crying so
just
much
so
too.
unreal, and I couldn't really look straight. I don't know why. It was just too much. It was just too overwhelming, and
Yeah,
this little tiny creature, like here now, and it's kind of lost for words. And
yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, I was telling Kitty during the whole like pregnancy that like I feel like women's bodies are like much more complex because of course they have to go through the child labor and birth, and like just women's bodies are amazing. Like I read a book by Bryson, I forget the
Bill
author's name.
Bryson.
Yeah, just about the body and like how it changes through pregnancy, and like just women's bodies are fascinating. Like I mean there's so many like details, but yeah, just the amount of changes it goes through and then prepares to like to give produce milk. And guys' bodies are pretty simple. So I was like telling Katie like women's bodies are like Porsches, and like guys' bodies are like just a Honda.
Yeah.
So treat the women well, and like women need to be like protected and like cared for, because they take the humanity forward. 그런 생각도 많이 들어.
Quickly.
So after you give birth, then you're allowed to recover in the hospital for typically about 2 days. Was it 2 or 3 days?
3 days.
2 nights, 3 days.
Yeah. And if you have C-section, like I think 2 days longer.
Yeah. And then the norm in Korea is to go to 산후 조리원. 산후 조리원 translates to Post-Partum Care Center. And I think, there's even like a Netflix like drama around it, around the culture and stuff.
산후조리원. But I feel like it's a little bit different. A lot of the things they do in the show in the drama, it was like very exaggerated. I realized.
The culture has changed after COVID, because a long time ago they used to do a lot of group activities together for all the women who just gave birth, and you get to like eat together, do activities. But now it's like all one-on-one. Like all women should be in their own rooms because of spread of like contagion of.
Still, we
COVID.
had to wear masks.
Oh yeah.
So I was wearing masks the whole time of giving birth too.
Oh yeah.
That was a bit brutal, I
Yeah.
thought too.
Yeah.
When we were in the hospital, so after giving birth, they take the baby away in a separate like a care room, and you basically have to go pick up your baby to take her to your room for like limited hours, and then return her back to that special room. And during that time too, you have to be wearing masks. So I was kind of thinking, oh, our baby like hasn't seen our face. She's gonna think that we look like this with these black masks on.
Yeah. She'll be like start crying when she sees our real faces.
Yeah.
But they can't even see anything anyway. Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say, but like in Korea, when you give birth, even if you don't go to the postpartum care center, the norm is that they have a 신생아실, the newborn center, and they will like take care of them while the mom rests for those 2 or 3 days.
That's like they will feed the baby and
they'll
stuff.
give them formula right away.
Yeah, and we have a lot to say about it because we were so like caught off guard.
Yeah, like I think in the States it's pretty the norm that like actually I don't know. Yeah, because you go home after 2 days, but during those 2 days I wonder at the hospital if they give the baby formula or they give breast milk right away. I'm not sure.
No, yeah. The thing is like I didn't really know much about like what goes on after
Yeah, we
once you
never
give
knew.
birth,
Yeah.
like how it operates in the hospital. Like also they never explain to you, and it just happened. So I was so kind of caught off guard and like kind of angry like at the end. But basically they don't really help you to breastfeed the baby.
That's
Like
up to you because some people want
yeah.
to formula feed and some people want to breastfeed. So if you don't say anything at the newborn center, they'll just keep feeding it formula.
And I
then
thought that's like just the way it is. But
it
then
is the way it is in Korea.
yeah. But then like
Oh, you didn't know that you could do an alternative way.
yeah, I think it was just like I just gave birth and like I don't really know what's going on. It's my first child.
Yeah.
But then and then afterwards I'm like trying to breastfeed her, but
There's no milk coming out.
yeah, and then like it's not really working, and like I just realized I didn't even get to like try to breastfeed her
Yeah.
the first like day or second day. I'm like, oh my god, what just happened? Like what's going on? Something's going significantly wrong, but I don't know. I'm like so lost, and I remember feeling so like sad and confused.
They didn't even tell you that they had like a breast pump there that you could use. It was only like after a few days
Yeah.
that our at the postnatal care center, because we went to the one that's connected to our hospital, and a person from there was like, okay, you're going to come into our hospital soon, or our postnatal care center soon, so here's this breast pump and you should start now, right, pumping. But then like barely anything came out, which is like kind of normal. But like I think during those 2-3 days when you were in the hospital and not at the natal care center, like in our minds an alternative way was that like you should try to just
breastfeed the baby
immediately.
but
right?
yeah, but I didn't do that.
Yeah, we
and I
didn't do
didn't
that.
even know that I should be doing that.
And so you kind of fell into thinking about that you missed out on that. And
because I really struggled afterwards, like throughout like the whole time I was at the postnatal care, I was struggling to breastfeed her. A, because like our baby couldn't latch properly, and also B, because my milk supply was really low. But the latching part is something I could have tried from day one, but I didn't do that, and I was like feeling so bitter about it.
And then Katie went into like a kind of a dark space and then like kind of had a mental breakdown and like, because normally at the postnatal care center, you're there for 2 weeks. And like every time I'm on like Instagram, like they're like, oh my God, Korea is amazing because like at the postnatal care center,
They do everything
for you. But that was completely different from our experience.
I mean, the problem was that they do everything for you.
Yeah.
So that was the problem. So they were like, yeah, we will give formula to the baby so you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But that's not what I wanted.
That's what's interesting. It's like, I think if we have a second child and you go to
I probably won't even go. Maybe I will go for shorter time.
Yeah, maybe like 1 week. You'll appreciate it then. But but giving like our personalities of like wanting to know and like hunger to like learn how to take care of our baby, it was like a concierge. They'll just take the baby and then they'll be like, okay, you want to see her now? Okay, they'll change the baby. Like you're learning nothing, and like they'll feed it and she'll come back full, and then it's like kind of like artificial.
Yeah, and
so
I just felt like something's wrong because this is my baby. I should be like caring for her 24/7 next to me, but then the centers keep saying they'll take care of the baby. So I'm like, I feel so confused.
Yeah. And then by after 7 days, Katie calls me and she's like,
yeah, I had a
I
breakdown.
want to get out of here. Forget this.
Yeah, we were booked for 2 weeks, and I really at that moment I was like, forget about the money. I don't care about like filling up the entire 2 weeks. I just want to go home with the baby.
Yeah. And so then we kind of like talked with the person there about like our our worries and
our
like
needs,
and
what we
our
wanted to.
expectation that like we came in here like actually wanting to get educated and try ourselves on how to take care of the baby and
And
not
breastfeed the baby.
yeah. And then and so we like asked her like, what's the point of coming here? Like, why do most people come here? Their philosophy is that the mother should recover first.
Yeah,
And so-
priority is on the mother.
Yeah,
they
but for
said.
us, we want a priority on the baby, her being
Because
breastfed.
priority on the baby means, I think, like leads to priority for me too.
Gotta talk louder. It's like breaking. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So long story short, I think we.
And also she explained that the culture kind of changed. So like now less and less women want to breastfeed the baby
Yeah.
in the 산후조리원. So most women want to actually just turn to formulas, and they actually come to 산후조리원 to wean off the milk, basically 단유. So I think they help a lot of women like stop producing milk so that she like doesn't produce any milk by the time she leaves the care center.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that, because if you're producing milk and like you're not really feeding the baby, it leads to a lot of pain, and
Yeah. Right.
there's I think medical term for that. So, and like a lot of these women like have to go back to work like pretty quickly soon after, so they don't want to keep producing milk and having to deal with the aftermath. So she said the culture changed. So I think for her too, like she probably thought that we are like kind of in the similar line of thinking.
She like we told her like our philosophy of like wanting to like go 100% breastfeeding.
Yeah.
And like we wanted to practice, and because like my parents are living in the States and Katie's parents live in Busan, and so like we have to do this ourselves. So we want to like practice run here and do most of the things that we can do that we're gonna need to do at home.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, you're in the minority. Like a lot of people come with that mindset. So if that's how you want to run it, we'll let you run it. But then once we started doing it like that, the baby was so tired. The baby like won't stop
Baby
crying.
is crying. I'm
latch.
crying.
Katie's crying. No milk is coming out. She's hungry.
No, and then the latching was so difficult, and
she's so
like
weak.
my nipples were all like bleeding and bruised. But then you have to keep feeding the baby every 2-3 hours, like regardless. So I'm like, my nipples like almost about to disappear, and like I just like it was so painful, and yeah, it was just a really difficult time, and yeah.
But I think most people struggle with breastfeeding. It's just like like when you're pregnant, or like, I mean, if you have like other older siblings that have gone through it, like I think it's different because like it's like my sister, and plus I live in a different country, so I didn't hear too much about it. My sister would say it, but like it would go through one ear and out the other for me because I'm a guy too, like, and I like don't have any kids. But like most people really struggle with breastfeeding, and that's why there is like a lactation profession. Because like it's that hard, and all babies are different. But I think we were so naive about not knowing the hardship that's just around the corner, and thinking like in the movies, like the baby would just, oh, there's a nipple.
Yeah,
and then just suck for 3 hours and
honestly,
sleep.
I was so naive about it because the only thing that was concerning me at the time was giving birth.
Yeah.
Like, so I really had no idea how hard it is. And then like every woman's nipple looks different. So I think like baby kind of found it hard to like latch on my nipple, and then the lactation consultant there was like giving me this nipple shield to try on first so that the baby can get more used to it. But then like even with that, I was getting like bruises and scars and bleeding. Baby ate a lot of blood.
And then if you go on YouTube, they're like, oh yeah, if you use that shield, then of course there's no contact between the baby's mouth, and so now no more milk, like less milk has come out. And then we go and tell that lactation person, she's like, no, don't listen to YouTube. And it's like conflicting advice
so
everywhere.
Like conflicting information, and I don't know. And then I'm now using this nipple guard, but I'm like, in my mind, how long do I have to keep using it? Like, if I have to keep using this nipple guard to feed my baby, I just feel like I'm not a human. Yeah, I feel like a cyborg. So I started to feel so like low and sad again. And But yeah, but
But I
but
guess
long
what
story short, I'm not using the nipple guard anymore. So
Yeah, now-
success to that.
yeah, now you're successfully breastfeeding, but I guess to everyone who's going to go through
At
it,
the beginning was so overwhelming.
guys, it takes time. It just takes time, and you just got to go through with it. Yeah, and then for husbands, just comfort your wives and just let them know it gets better. Like, but the
Yeah.
thing is, that's what people told me too. It's going to get better, but when you're in it, you're
Yeah, I'm like, when I don't see
you
this getting better. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh
frustrated.
my gosh.
Yeah, so now after we finish 2 weeks, people will come home. It's the norm in Korea for the wife's mother to come and stay.
Either that or you you pack all your belongings and then
You just go to your
stuff
mom's
and
house.
go to your parents' house.
Yeah, I have a little bit of mixed feelings about this culture. I think it's pretty common in most Asian countries. Like, it's not only Korea, it's like China as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like when you have a baby, like the mom will come and stay with their daughters. Yeah, your mom stayed with us for about 2 weeks.
Her role was basically to feed me
Yeah, like cooking
and like recover so that like
and
I
also
can.
doing a lot of night shifts too.
Oh, yeah.
That was so,
That helped so much though.
that was so funny because your mom was like before like she came up, she was like so confident about her skills. Like she's like, 뭐가 힘들어? There's nothing hard about raising
Yeah.
a baby. I mean, come on, it's so easy. It's like almost like with this arrogant like, come on guys, like there's nothing.
She was
hard.
kind of like, yeah, like because on the phone
Kind of
I was
condescending.
like, I was kind of crying a lot, and I was like, oh, it's so difficult with the baby. I'm having trouble with feeding her, and also like, yeah, I was telling her too at night, like I send her off to the nurse, like the care center people, so that they can take care of the baby at night, and I can sleep like kind of comfortably. My mom was like, "Why are you doing that?
You're doing it the wrong way. It's not like that.
You should, and just let her cry. If she cries, it doesn't matter. It's gonna be better for her to cry." And then,
It's like what Mike Tyson said, or who some famous boxer said. Everyone has a plan until they get hit in the face. So your mom came, and then she got hit in the face by Sora.
that's so
The
true.
realities of Sora.
Oh my gosh,
Is that her baby cry?
yeah, baby challenged my
Okay,
mom.
1 second, guys. 동인아, bring Sora here. Okay, Katie has
I know,
brought.
I wish you can show you on camera, but
Oh,
this
Hey,
is
Sora.
just audio.
Sora, can you give us?
Can you say hi?
Can you say hi to the people?
Hello. Did you sleep well?
She just headbutted the mic. Here, give her to me. Sora, are you hungry? Sora, that's a beautiful cry you have, sweetie. I think you can be a Korean Celine Dion. Sora, what do you want to say to the people? All right, neighbors, and we're back.
A few hours later,
A few hours, more like 5 hours later.
finally put the baby to sleep.
Yeah, let's continue where we stopped. I was talking about the pros and cons, about the value or the tradition of having the mother. with the-
Mother-in-law.
Yeah, well, to me, it's my mother-in-law. That's the tradition in Korea, China, Japan, I believe.
What about in the U.S.?
I don't think so. I think the U.S. Yeah, I think it depends on your living situation. Like in Korea,
Maybe
it's like
you
it's like
have a
ingrained in
nanny?
culture, right? Like it's expected, right? So I think that's the thing.
Yeah,
um,
traditionally, yeah.
But I was thinking about it in the shower, and I think like I don't think it's like even worth discussing pros and cons.
No, I don't think.
Yeah, I think it's all pros, but
we
it's just that okay. So actually, if I break this down,
can
like-
just share our experience.
yeah, you
Like-
keep coming in and out, so you got to put the mic closer. Yeah, when your mom is here, she does a lot of the heavy lifting.
There was all the like prepping the meals.
No, not so much about the meals, because I mean, meal. Okay, that is a big part, but I mean, like,
She did a lot of heavy lifting for me and as well as for you.
yeah,
If my mom wasn't here, I don't think you would have been able to work at all.
yeah, that's true. I'm coming from more the angle that I think like there's this kind of bond that a couple gets stronger through like hardship in that culture where the mom comes and helps and does too much. It's like you kind of lose the opportunity to do hard things together. Okay, it's not like the baby stops growing after, like 1 month. Of course, there's hard things to come, but I feel like the beginning, like when they're like the first months, is like the hardest. And when like the husband and the wife together like is up all night and doing it, there's this kind of sense of accomplishment and this sense of bonding over how hard it is. And also you get that like very deep connection with that. And I'm not saying that I didn't get that, but I'm saying there are cases.
We were still struggling even with my mom here.
Yeah, but do you understand what I'm saying? Like there's a difference in a family, let's say for example, who took a boat out and then let's say there something terrible happened and the mast broke. They were out at sea for a month together. That hardship like really bonds that family because of that hardship. And I feel like that's kind of where I'm coming from. Whereas like again, I'm not really talking about our case because our case is unique in the fact that I'm home.
She didn't even stay that long. She only stayed for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about our case specifically because it's not my case, my situation. But I'm like kind of projecting. Like I hear about women who like go down to their hometown or go back home, and then the husband just works. And I feel like that's a big mistake because the husbands, by not going through that hardship, it has kind of less like 애정 towards their kids, starting from an early.
Yeah, but realistically, if the husband has a 9 to 5 job and he can't really take days off, like during the daytime, the mother is all alone in her house. That's why they usually like just pack all their stuff immediately after leaving the hospital and just like go into their mom's house and just live there for months. And then the husband will like, maybe if the situation allows, he will like come like after work to the mother-in-law's house to see the kid and then go back home and sleep, or like just come visit the house on the weekends. Something like that.
No, that's why I'm really cognizant that the fact that I can work from home, and in that case that value is not there. But like I'm not sorry, it's not the value is not there, but like it's a luxury that I have the time to spend the early time with the kids and stuff. But in my mind, I still think that like there's a healthy balance to that. Like if the mother-in-law is, but sometimes I even see in this documentary, like in China, that the mother-in-law came up for 3 months, but that's way too long. Jesus Christ, for 3 months.
But for me, like I want to come from a different point of view, because for me, like actually before like giving birth, like I was imagining like, the first month or the time like we have with the baby. And I was like, kind of in my mind, it was like now I know how naive my thinking was, because, we bought that crib. In my mind, like I thought I put the baby to sleep, the baby will sleep there like beautifully. And like, I was so happy with that crib, because that crib, you can attach it to the bed, and like when the baby kind of like fidgets, I can just reach out my arm and just like, tap her on her chest, like kind of that picture perfect, beautiful, like ideal scenario. But oh boy, the reality is like you have to flip the baby. Put the baby
not only flip it, but you have to like
the
nurse.
baby will never sleep. Like
you have to comfort it back to sleep. So
like
it's
just
30
because
minutes.
you tell her to sleep, right?
Exactly.
And even when she's sleeping, like she'll wake up a few times and like fidgets, and it's like a battle to put her to bed. And it's so intense to like raise a newborn baby, especially the first month. It was so overwhelming, so intense. Like we can barely sleep, and literally the first month our baby didn't sleep at night.
Yeah.
She would only sleep when you're holding her. So like I would doze off sleeping like while I'm holding her, and the moment you put her on a flat surface, she's like cry.
Yeah, and so the fact that your mom was here was like it was like
Like
invaluable.
I'm really it's very invaluable.
Invaluable. Like you can't like so much. She was so much help, and like I had so much gratitude.
I mean, it was
her.
difficult even for my mom too. Remember,
Yeah.
we were actually talking about that.
Yeah.
How she was so confident that like she can.
She was so confident that it was almost condescending when we had like questions about it, like why, that's nothing, and then like
she
1 week in she was like, you know what,
she feels defeated and she has to
I want to go back home for a little bit.
Yeah, and she had to take like a break and then come back again.
yeah And then like coming back, because I don't want our viewers to think like that I like think that it's all negative. That I'm just talking about like the cons is maybe like 10%, the big 90% pro, which I think is like just overrules everything, is like the fact that the grandmother and your mom and my mother-in-law gets to spend time with the newborn and grow a sense of fondness and attachment to the baby. That is like the most important thing ever. I think it's one thing if your mom was like away in Busan and just like seeing pictures and videos, like you don't grow a sense of like,
it's so different.
So just for that, like if there are other guys or girls listening, I think that culture in Korea where the mother-in-law does come, I think that's invaluable. Now my only thing is I would keep it to like 2 weeks.
No, I understand. It's like
for me,
it's gonna
from
be,
my guy's
it has to
perspective,
be difficult for you. I mean, it's the same thing if your parents stayed with us for like some time, like indefinitely, or I don't know, like even a month, like in this tiny Korean apartment, it's like difficult because we have no private space. Like you have no place to have a personal space, and it's like you have to be there with them, seeing their face like 24/7. It's like difficult. Of course it's difficult.
No resting time. I have to work, and I'm off work and I want to rest.
Yeah,
but your mom's
it's really tough.
watching TV, so I'm staying in my room and that. And so,
I understand. Yeah.
But beyond my discomfort, I hope you understand my point, which is where I really wanted to say is like the con is that like if you just like you were upset at the 조리원, at the postnatal center, because they're doing everything for you. Yeah. This is my version of what I'm saying. It's like when I'm at home, I want to go through the hard thing together and go through the hardship, because then we like, you know, we bond more together and we have like the sense of like, wow, this is our baby. And we're like, wow, 1 month has passed. Whereas like if you were gone for, let's say your mom's place and then you came back up and now she's like 100 days old. What does 100 days old mean? It means nothing to me. It's just like whatever. Like, okay, wow. Like, you know what I mean?
But I think
that's my point.
I think it depends on like the person and your situation.
Yeah. That's a big
You
asterisk.
want it to be very involved, right? You are the character who wanted to be very involved from the get-go on the raising the baby and stuff. But I don't think not all guys are like that.
And also, I think the biggest limiting factor, like you mentioned already, is your job. So, like, if you're working at home or you have the luxury to work at home, then you have the option to like be involved early. But if you're like, let's say you're a nurse or something, you have to be at the hospital or you have to be at site, then this is not an option, right? I'm cognizant of that, but I'm just saying, like, I really believe, and I say so much on this podcast that you should lead into hard things.
It was definitely.
It was tough.
Enough.
It was tough.
Hard enough, yes.
It was tough, yeah.
It was extremely tough. Just the fact that you can't really sleep and like
every 2 hours.
Almost my memory of the first month is like blurred now because it was so tough and we were barely getting any sleep. But yeah. But also I also want to say like before like kind of like up till like I was giving birth, like my relationship with my mom was kind of like up and down, and I wasn't really sure how like the interaction of my mom and the baby would be like. I couldn't really imagine. But then like the moment my mom saw Sora, like she was melting, and so it was kind of like the love that she showed for my baby is kind of like
It's heartwarming,
really,
right?
really beautiful, and it just really melted my heart. And almost, I saw a different side in her, like this really loving,
Tender.
yeah, tender side, like that. I'm sure she showed to me when I was young, but you know, as you get older, it's
Yeah.
like less and less. And
Yeah.
like my mom is like a person who shows love through action, not necessarily through words. Yeah, like she would like make all these meals for me, and like you know, she would tell me like not to do heavy lifting, like because like my body is so weak and I need to recover. And she's like, I'll take care of the baby at night, so like just sleep through the night, like just don't bother with it. And all these like sacrifices, like through action, that's how she shows love. And I really felt that a
I'm
lot.
happy. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like kind of really beautiful. And also I was like really happy to see that, and just how much love she can show to this my daughter. It's not even her daughter in some way, like my daughter, but I just get amazed, and it's really like beautiful. And I'm really really happy to see that side of her. And yeah, like even she was away for like a few weeks, and she came back up. She's like, the first thing she wants to do is see Sora.
Yeah. She's
Like,
like, wake her up. Let me see her.
like I don't care about
You
you.
guys.
I don't care about Daniel. It's like I want to see baby.
I'm really happy that then
Yeah.
that those 2 weeks were really meaningful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys. Well, then you heard from Katie, which is the main character.
Main character.
Then yeah,
And
you
one
mentioned
thing
to
you
it.
said, kind of like resonates with me. Is when we were growing up, we were the main character, so
Oh.
we never got to see ourselves through like outside eyes. But now we have our baby who is the main character. We get to see kind of like relive that time, like not as the main character, but now from like looking in. So yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, like I feel like now we're going on to the sentimental lane, and if we're going down that road, I remember when I was talking to you when we're first dating that I have a strong belief that not everyone has a equal starting line. We don't choose our parents. We don't choose our social economic class that we're born into. We don't choose our environment, our 환경. We don't choose this, but especially if you grow up in a family that has had so much turbulence and your relationship with your siblings or your parents are not good, I always said, like, let's stay hopeful because you have the opportunity to have your own family. Didn't you remember?
Yeah.
We always said that.
Yeah.
And I always said stay hopeful and stay positive because we can create our own family. And like, I'm so happy that happened. And like,
I'm so happy when I see you interact with Sora,
why?
because I think you're gonna be such a fun dad.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's like really beautiful, I think.
I don't know if I like mentioned it earlier, but I hope everyone has the opportunity to have their own child. And yeah, it's like it's the most beautiful thing. Like I think it's gonna be the most special thing ever. No like achievement in academics or in business or sports or any competition has come even close. Achievement in those areas is just like a recognition, whereas this is a living thing. And
It's like
it's a living thing.
it's a living thing, and I feel like it's the most natural, close to natural thing that you can do. Like, I feel like nowadays with all this technology, like all this, like
I see what you're saying.
everything, I've like we're kind of a cyborg,
Yeah.
and I feel like for the first time, this experience of giving birth, like I don't need any technology. It's like nothing to do with this like text based or AI or anything. Like kind of, yeah, very very natural.
One thing that I do kind of think about was talking with my friends also, was that when I was younger, I just thought that getting married and having kids was a given, that it just happens to everyone. And as I get older, especially my generation, I feel like getting married and also having kids is something that you really need to. It's almost like
It's like
you.
a gift, I think.
No, no, I don't want to say it's a gift, because that means like it feels like you are just awarded something. I want to say the reverse, that you have to have intent. It doesn't just come to everybody. In order for you to have a kid, well, actually with a loving partner, then you have to find a partner first. And is that her baby?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Let me put her.
Yeah, I think her password dropped out. But wow, Katie's gone. If you want to find a partner in today's kind of like modern world, you need to have or at least from a guy's perspective, you need to have a good job. You need to have the ability to provide. You need to have et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's not as easy as a long time ago where people would just get married very quickly, and then like having kids was, it's not a generation where we're having popping out like 8 to 10 kids, like our parents or grandparents, well, actually not our parents, but our grandparents' generation. And so, and like in Korea, you see what the birth rate is, right?
They're disappearing.
Yeah, it's almost like it's getting rare.
It's like
it's not only is it getting rare to get married, but to have kids is like in Korea, it's like, I want to say it's almost like a signaling, like
yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's not like if I look at all the people around me that are my age, not everyone has kids. Not everyone is even married either, right? Whereas like if you ask my uncles in their age, most of them, like it was just a given that once you pass this age,
yeah,
you'll just get married and having kids is nothing
at that time they don't even question whether to get married or whether to have kids.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's a given. Like it's so entrenched in thought, whereas now it's like I want to get married and I want kids. And I guess now I'm having a little bit more clarity. It's like if you don't have that in mind, you're not going to just end up with kids.
If you just go with the flow.
Exactly. If you just go with the flow with life, you're not going to get married. Because you have to be focused, you have to have a career, you have to provide. Because women's expectation much higher. Because women's level of education now, I think more women are like college educated than men. So their expectation for a partner is much higher. And so if you're just yeah, whatever, cool, man, yeah, cool, dicking around until you're like mid-30s, you're not gonna get married. You're not gonna have kids. Like I always wanted to have, like, get married early and have kids. Like I've always been like looking forward to that. And it's met my expectation of like what I expected it to be. It's much more than that. And so like now having gone through this to like young people who listen, it's like a lot of social media and like all these people are like, oh, don't get married. Marriage is like whatever. We have a lot of like crazy messaging out there. That's all bullshit. Like in my mind, everyone should try to find love and get married and also have kids in that marriage. It's tremendously like rewarding.
I'm more in the other camp. I'm more in I used to feel much more strongly about like that you don't have to get married and you don't have to have kids, especially in this century. Because it's like a choice you can make, and there's so many different types of ways of living. It's not just one size fits all. And yeah, if you see value in like doing something else or living alone or like pursuing your career and sacrificing like in something else, then yeah, good for you. Like I think you should do what you want to be doing rather than like going by what the society like set the convention for.
Yeah, that makes sense. But if you're on the fence,
but now having like gone through both, well, not finished going through, but like I'm in the
mother now.
Yeah, I'm in the process. I feel like it's worth trying. Like my view kind of edged towards I was more like in the other camp, but then I'm like, oh, but I wish you could try. Because like there's a lot of good things.
Let's
But I
break it
think it's
down. Why
important.
why were you so like hesitant
But I
towards
think
it?
it's important. The way I say it is because it's based on this assumption that you found the right partner,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, that's true.
Because sometimes, like, there's a lot of divorced couples too, and like, especially if you are divorced but have kids, like,
Oh, yeah.
it gets even more complicated. So it's everything
I think that's a really important
based on the
point.
assumption that you found your right partner and you guys are very compatible. It's not something that's rushed or you didn't feel 100% certain about it, but you just went ahead and things happened.
So if you found the right partner, you
Yeah.
would definitely recommend just
Yeah, but most likely if you know that you found the right partner, I think you would like want to have like marry and like have kids, right?
I don't know, like with like business related stuff and like achieving and that kind of aspect, there's always this like hungry feeling, like what's more?
Yeah.
Like if I did this, if I sold this, I gotta double up now. I gotta do a business that's twice as big, or like let's increase revenue by this much, or oh that person's this. I want to sell this business, or like
Yeah,
wanna
you're
see what's
never
that.
like 100% satisfied.
Exactly, that's the perfect like you're never full, right?
Yeah.
But somehow my life, for the first time, I'm metaphorically full.
Oh.
I'm not complete
And our
full.
baby is only 2 months old.
No, I'm not completely full in the sense that my life is now fulfilled and I could just die. You know when you're like really hungry and you can't think of anything and you get really hangry?
Yeah.
I'm to the point where like even after having the baby, after having like or becoming a father, I'm like I think I'm like half full. I don't think about being hungry. I feel like in my heart there's so much things I do want to do, but the becoming a father has provided this base foundation of meaning to my life. Like a base layer.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like 50%. And so like I don't have this like urge to like or this like anxiety to like figure out life or like what does this mean? Why am I here? I have a sense of purpose and fulfillment. And so that to me I really realized that. Like even if I died tomorrow, I know that Sora still continues like who I am and like I at least was able to impact the earth through Sora and like how and to me that's what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah.
I feel a sense of fulfillment through it, and so
I feel a similar way,
yeah,
but at the same time, I think my mind got so much more complicated after having Sora, because I'm thinking, how should I be living this life now?
yes.
Much more than before, you know?
Oh, I see. Tiger
Because
mode.
no, not like that, but
Yeah,
like,
just joking.
yeah, like, I want to be a proud mom.
Yeah,
Like, I want to live life in a more like meaningful way.
because you want to set a good example to her, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like now, like at night, I'm like keep questioning. I don't know how to say it in English, but like 앞으로 어떻게 살아야 될지?
Yeah, like how should I live so I could be a great
Yeah,
example
in a
to
better
Sora?
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep like asking myself that question.
It's good.
Yeah.
I guess this is like these are the experiences of becoming a parent and the natural thoughts, and
So I guess it motivates you to become a better person
yeah,
just naturally.
that's why I want to push all of my friends who are like on the fence about having children. Like you should, and have it early. They require a lot of energy, but they give you this sense of like fulfillment. But I don't know, like you were saying earlier, everyone is wired differently, and I've only lived one life, which is the one I'm living now. But yeah, that's just how I feel.
So what's your best moment with our baby so far? What has been the best moment?
The best moment?
Yeah.
I don't know about the best moment, but I just feel really happy when you bring, because like a lot of times I'm on night duty and I like wake up much later than Katie because Katie has set
You're
times.
not on night duty.
Yeah, I am. A lot of times I am. I put her to bed and
yeah, like until like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. Then I take over.
Right.
We do
Anyway,
split.
right. But anyway, what I really like is when you bring Sora in the morning
Yeah.
and I'm sleeping in bed and you're like, oh, here's comes Sora, and I wake up. Then she has like her. By the way, Sora's skin is so white. She's like Snow White. It's like a radiant white. I don't know how to explain. I think she's Jesus Christ. But anyway, she brings this holy figure into the room, and,
Holy feet.
and then like the sun like beams in from the sides, and then I just see her smile, and that really like just makes me happy. How about you?
I think the first time we took her out on a small walk
Mm.
around our neighborhood, finally felt like he was settling in and started to like appreciate having the baby in my life. Because until then, I'm just like at home feeding her, putting her to bed, feeding, putting her to bed.
Not like a cow.
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't even like change my clothes for like
milking.
the whole week.
Yeah.
There's no point. And like,
Yeah.
actually, I was almost like topless the whole week. There's no point on putting on the clothes.
I
And
used to call her the Amazon woman because she never had any clothes on in the house.
yeah, and like, I mean, there's no point. Like, I didn't even feel like going out for even like a breath of air because I just felt kind of so down and not great. Then I think after like a month, I think we decided like kind of impromptu let's like take her out for a walk. Like finally for the first time I changed my clothes and like brushed my hair and went out. I like saw the sun and then saw the nature. Step outside the house and oh wow, I kind of like felt a little bit more sane. And yeah, that felt really, really good. And kind of that was like a moment of realization that, wow, I have this baby and wow, we're like a family now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've hit our stride now. Wait, she's sleeping. Oh, by the way, I don't think we even said she just passed 50 days. So
Why is 50 days important? It's not that important. In Korea, traditionally, it's the first 100 days.
yeah.
That's like a milestone because in the past, like babies like used to die much, like didn't pass 100 days and a lot of babies died before that. So we celebrate like the first 100 days. It's like an important mark. But like half of that is 50 days. So we like to also celebrate that.
Yeah. So in Korea, 100 days is important, like Katie said, because a long time ago, the babies would die. And so there's not that big of a celebration for that, but that's just a marker. And usually for the first 100 days, it's the norm or common like thinking to keep the baby indoors.
Yeah.
And people usually don't go out basically for first 3 months. And then after 100 days, you start taking the baby out. But we started taking the baby out much earlier.
Like, yeah, I think
just
like
knowing a personality
after 1 month, yeah, we just couldn't stand just being at home stuck here.
Yeah,
I think it would have driven me crazy, even more crazy.
After the 100 days, the next big marker is we call it Tor, which is their first birthday.
Yeah, that's the big event. Usually they would have like a big ceremony, invite all your family members, and like have a meal, and like also there's
you lay
fun
out some
game.
Objects,
yeah,
and see which they pick to see like what they're gonna go.
Torjabi, basically.
Right.
I'm looking forward to see what Sora grabs. Are you gonna put out your climbing shoes?
I'm scared. Oh, that's good. Yeah, we have to think of some stuff. No, my biggest romance in my mind, or like romantic idea for our family, is like going. I could just imagine us like going camping throughout like Korea.
Yeah,
like,
mountains.
Yeah, like have a little campfire and then just our family, like camping in the wild and like going climbing during the day and like sleeping in a little campfire. And
yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be so much fun. So that's like my kind of romantic idea in my mind.
But that's gonna be long away.
Yeah, yeah.
One moment I want our baby to grow fast so we can like start hanging out, go to all these places, like travel. Then the other moment, like, no, I don't want her to grow fast. Because
Yeah.
like this moment is so precious and it is never gonna like come back again. So
When you were at the postnatal care center, I remember you were crying. I was like, "Why are you crying?" Because Sara's already getting old. One day she'll have to die. And I was like, she's 2
I
weeks
was
old.
getting so emotional.
I was like, she's like 3 days old. Come on, Katie.
Yeah, but the first 3 days when I was at the hospital, like, cause you would stay with me during the daytime and then you go home, right, at night. So at night I got so emotional, like I couldn't really sleep either, and then like so many thoughts like would be passing by, and I was like, this thing is so precious and so angelic, and then like I was already thinking about the end, like. I was like, oh my gosh, like she's gonna grow up so fast and
Yeah.
leave us, and
We have plenty of time.
and I'm like, oh my god, I'm already feeling so sad and emotional about thinking that.
Oh, so sweet. Guys, I hope that was I think that was kind of at least
Yeah. We were kind of going back and forth. I don't even know how this podcast will sound like. There was just no structure or order.
that's a future day podcast. We just ramble.
Yeah, if you want to listen to a more structured podcast, you go listen to Tim Ferriss or other people.
Tim Ferriss was a random Tim Ferriss. We're really happy. I hope that it's conveyed through the podcast, and like I don't know, I feel like someone who just like learned about Jesus. Just want to tell everyone, or Muhammad, or whoever, or Buddha, whoever your religion is. Like, I felt like my religion right now is my beautiful baby, and I just want to have all of my friends, or even our virtual neighbors who are like on the fence, like go through it, and it's something beautiful. And don't let anyone, or don't let yourself, most importantly yourself, don't let fear talk yourself out of it, or like just these society's values about how women need to be in career and all this and all that. No, trust me, no job promotion or amount of money will like defeat a baby like looking at you in the morning and straight talk.
Yeah, but I'm also really thankful that you've been really supportive and helpful, because like, you know, the first thing that when you talk to like other women about like getting pregnant, having child, like there's so much sacrifice that a woman makes. Like, oh, that's why it's so much more difficult and stuff. But I feel like for me, like it hasn't been long, but like I feel like you were just equally really like helping
Excited.
out and going through this difficult thing together. I feel like we were doing it together rather than me like sacrificing so much more. I never felt like that during this last 2 months. Because like when I'm watching the baby, you are like kind of behind the scene doing all these other things, you know?
Yeah, we had a running joke like when we were at the Choriwan, like I would tell Katie like, oh my gosh, in Korean I'd be like, 할 것이 없는데 할 것이 너무 많아.
Yeah.
Which basically means there's nothing for me to do here, but I have so many things to do here.
Yeah, like literally you have no time to sit down.
Yeah, like I mean,
But then you're not even feeding the baby.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's feeding the baby. But everything else you are doing it for me. Like, oh, go grab some water, take grip and then wash this thing, or like pass this something to the other room, or like, bring my meal, clean up, like take the dishes back to the main foyer, and
yeah. Oh, now you need to sleep. Okay, I'll burp the baby. And then, like burping the baby turns into 30 minutes, and then she peed. Oh, I gotta go change her diaper, and then after the diaper, I gotta go pick up the sanitized thing. Oh, they called. They need to get this. I go back and forth, and I was just like a little mouse. For like, I would come home and I'd be exhausted.
I know.
I never fell asleep on my desk even when I was a student, but for the first time in my life, at home on that work computer, I fell asleep at the desk and I woke up in like a panic because I didn't know what time, where I was.
And then you were taking care of all these things at home too, like
the work
throwing away the recycles
and all the housework stuff.
Yeah. So I really felt like I wasn't the only one who is going through this difficult thing. Like you were going through it with me together.
Yeah.
So yeah,
everyone's gonna do their part. Everyone's gonna do their part.
And then my mom was like, funny thing, while my mom was here, she was like, one day she just asked me, "Oh, did you ask Daniel to do the laundry, or did he do it voluntarily by himself?" I'm like, "No, I never ask him. He just does it whenever it's about time." She's like, "Wow, that's pretty impressive."
Oh, your mom said that?
Yeah. Because like usually the guy never like kind of, what, basically not doing the laundry, but basically putting the laundry into the laundry machine and like basically.
But that's an interesting topic. Maybe we'll talk about this for like 5-10 more minutes. But like for most Americans or Korean Americans or people who live in America or go to like university, they live by themselves, and like doing laundry and like cooking and stuff like that is like, that's like part of growing up and becoming independent.
That's like the basics.
It's like the basics, right?
Yeah.
Like what's hard about throwing a couple of old clothes or like dirty clothes into it's not like you're doing hand laundry. It's you're pressing a machine. Just put a little bit of soap and do it, right?
Yeah, it's not hard, but it's just the fact that you do it without me telling you to do it. That's what she was like kind of impressed about.
I know, but this is what I'm trying to say is that like in Korea, everyone, all the guys, they live with their parents until they become
mostly because of cost too.
Yeah, the culture too.
Yeah, culture
and cost, and so
yeah, true.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times they've never done the housework or even doing dishwashing or like worry about the laundry because the mom like takes care of all that.
That's why I don't like also when your mom is like, "Oh, don't touch the." My mom did that to me too. Like, "Oh, yeah, like don't touch the dishes." Like, I'll do it, and that's the mom's role. But like my mom, after a certain age, she started getting pissed. She's like, "Nobody helps me with anything." I was like, "Mom, for 20 years, you wouldn't let any of the kids do any of the dishes or help you because it was 아까워. They should just be studying." Why just because all of a sudden now you feel like you need help? Would our habits change? So with Hara, we're gonna make her do all these like help. Like, would I want to teach Hara because I understand, like I lived it too. Like, you doing 5 to 10 minutes of like washing dishes is not gonna take you away from going into Harvard, or like it's not going to take you away from becoming a better student.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? It's all in the mom's mind, like. So like you need to build healthy habits. And so like a lot of times like I'll be
like helping with cooking too.
Yeah. Like
now that I think about it, my mom never like asked us to help with cooking either.
That's why like you don't know how to cook a fried egg until you met me. You don't know how to fry an egg, right? That's like 기본. So in my mind, that's like a generational gap, but that's definitely something that's going to change.
Just making it more like natural to just like do it together. And
I think for our kids, definitely, they're gonna grow. At least I want to teach them as much independence as possible. Like, you know how there's those parents who make their kids like go to the airport with their own luggage bag.
I think that's the cutest thing.
And have them pull their own luggage bag.
I think that's so cute. Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah,
I want to get her own luggage bag.
Yeah, our kids are going to be fiercely independent. Anyway, guys.
Yeah. I think we just like want to keep talking because it's been such a long while.
Yeah.
We had a private time like this and we don't want to like finish it.
Yeah, but now we moved this podcast into a different space. And so maybe we'll do more of these. It's easier. Alrighty, neighbors. We'll call that a wrap.
I don't want to go.
Want to say something else?
There's one thing that I learned about this whole like breastfeeding and the hospital situation is that like in Korea, like if you're really like strong about just exclusively breastfeeding the baby from day one, you need to go to those hospitals that like encourage you to do, or they say they exclusively breastfeed the babies.
Instead of formula feeding them.
Yeah, and there's like 모유수유 전문 병원
Oh, I see.
that like have the name tag for it, and there's only like 8 across entire Korea. And so if I was more knowledgeable about this whole thing, I should have like picked one of those hospitals and just like give birth there. Then those hospitals will like
Those
basically
hospitals
teach you or like just encourage you, support you to do breastfeeding exclusively.
100% breastfeeding.
And like stay, it's called 모자 동시 병원. So basically allow you to stay with the baby 24/7 from day one.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and I think I was surprised that there's only like 8.
But now that you know this, even from the hospital that we had our Sara at, you can also do that.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah, but now you'd see. So what you're saying is those 9 hospitals you're talking about, their default is to go 100% breastfeeding from the beginning, whereas the majority of hospitals will feed your baby formula, and then it's up to you to tell them which way you want to go. So even in the hospital we went to, you can go 100% breastfeeding, but you have to be explicit to them and like tell them like, give me the pump now, and like give me the baby because I want to directly feed her, and like they're not going to handhold you on how to go to 100% breastfeeding, right?
Yeah, but also you need to, but not all hospitals are like that, because like my friend who gave birth on the same week as I did, I don't know where her hospital was, but in her hospital they didn't let them like basically be together with the baby until the moment they left the hospital. So she could only watch the baby over the window.
Did she do a C-section? Or?
It doesn't matter what you did. Whether it's she did C-section, but basically they don't want the moms to like kind of be together with the baby because of COVID, I guess. But I thought that's really severe.
But one thing that we should say is that like right now we're doing a hybrid, so we feed Sara both breast milk as well as formula, and I think we're going to keep going that route. But I don't know, we shouldn't be too quick to judge whether that's like 100% breast feeding is like a huge commitment. That means like you're up every night for 6 months. And if you're going to go back to work, how would that even be great?
And like,
so what I'm saying is that
not
like,
even 6 months, even longer.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that like, I don't know if that's really the best thing. Like in our naive minds, we might have thought like 100% breastfeeding is the best natural way to go. But in our kind of lives that we live, and you're considering going back to work, maybe it's good that we're doing a hybrid now, so it's easy for her to take formula later too. So we don't know what's right or wrong. We're still working through that. So
no, but I'm kind of happy with the current situation. But like I was just really upset and kind of felt really, I don't know, regretful about like the whole process, because I felt like I was just going with the flow and I didn't have
in control.
I wasn't in control of anything. Like, and then I'm like, oh my God, what's going on all of a sudden? And then like now I can't even go back, and I felt so kind of like, I don't know, ashamed of myself for like also not really being so like naive and like not. I felt very ignorant basically.
I'm sure there's so much information about it, but like first-time mothers are just so worried about the giving birth, and so all this other stuff is
that's basically what happened to me. Like I didn't even know to like research about this whole breastfeeding or anything. I thought that's like just something that just comes naturally.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't even think about the formula because I was like, oh, why formula? I mean, I can breastfeed.
I thought if the mother just plopped out the boob, the baby just attaches and then
Me
just feeds and goes to
too.
bed.
Somehow, me too. I was so ignorant about this whole thing
Yeah.
until like I went through it. And
All right, neighbors. I think we'll call it at night. It's pretty late here as well.
yeah.
The brain to shut it down.
Yeah, but if you have any like questions about anything we talk about today or more about, I don't know, like something else that you want us to touch on regarding like the hospital system Korea that we experience or the postnatal care center or yeah.
Oh, how much was the postnatal care center? I think some people would be interested in that.
Oh, around like
For 2
it was
weeks,
around 350, right?
yeah, around 3,000 USD for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we were more on the lower range. It can go as high as like 1,000만 원.
Yeah,
Some
that's
post
like,
care centers in Gangnam
yeah, but that's
for like
silly.
1,000만 원 or 1,000만 원 is like 10,000 to 15,000.
Yeah, but now you're going to like ultra premium where you're like they put your hands in like wrap your hands in like algae so that your skin can recover, all this weird crazy stuff.
I mean, post care nurse center was like this, like the services that they were offering are pretty good. Like they were having yoga classes and like all this free not free, but like it was all included, but like body massage and facial care and all this. But
the
like
nurses were fantastic too there.
Yeah, like the moment they hold the baby's like stops crying
So
and goes
good.
to bed.
So I think we should be more explicit. Like the care center or the postnatal care center, that experience, apart from what your expectation was fantastic. The food was delicious, very wholesome. The nurses were amazing. Facility is great. Everything and more than
like the
we
bed
expected.
was super comfortable.
Super comfortable.
Like our room was like a hotel room.
Yeah. But it was just that your expectation about
none of that mattered to me at that moment. Like none of this yoga or massage or all these extra things. Like I couldn't care less because my priority was about like I want to like be able to feed the baby well, like so that when I go home I can like continue to feed her.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we should say that because I think in the beginning we were like casting such a negative image about that.
Yeah.
The Chori one, but just depends on what your expectation of why you're going there. The why is important.
Yeah.
If you're going to really recover, then oh my God, 10 out of 10. If you're like wanting to do 100% breastfeeding, you gotta go in with a game plan and tell them. So
actually, yeah, if you want to do 100% breastfeed, then I think they recommend you not even to go to care center.
Yeah.
Just go home straight after and just hire some like person to help out with the housework, basically.
Right. And we didn't know which one we wanted. We thought we wanted. We
didn't even talk about it. Whether we wanted formula or like breastfeeding, because it was just like, I think at the back of my mind, we never talk about it, but I just thought that, yeah, it's just breastfeeding will be the most natural thing that will happen, you know?
And I think I think what we went through is like very typical of first time parents.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I think this question mark and this maelstrom of like chaotic worries and anxieties, everyone goes through that. Yeah, but if you have like a sibling who just went through it, they can really help you put your thoughts into perspective. But unfortunately, we didn't have that. So our like brainstorming went wilder and wilder and started raining on everybody. But so hopefully we can share our experience and it can give other people less of a chaotic storm.
Yeah. I think one of those like first few nights I posted on Instagram, the breastfeeding is really hard and like I'm struggling. Like the amount of like responses I was getting from people, I was like amazed. And I felt really like kind of supported because everybody was like, yeah, it's so hard, it's super hard, but nobody talks about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one.
Exactly. Alrighty, neighbors, we'll let you off the hook. We'll be back very soon.
Okay.
And thanks for tuning in, y'all.
Thanks for listening to our rambling.
That's right. From we're recording this in our little room, broadcasting it from Korea.
Today is a record. It's like almost 2 hours. Maybe we need to split it into part 1 and part 2.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. Or you will cut it out.
Alrighty. See you guys.
See you.